Magandang araw po. Okay, naririnig ba? Okay. Yeah. So, nandito po tayo ngayon. It's COVID-19, How the Media Can Remember Gender. This webinar is organized by the Internews Network and Plan International with the support of the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, H2H Network, and UK Aid. Ang webinar po natin ay naka-record, so for purposes of documentation and reporting. And this will be uploaded on the YouTube account of Internews COVID-19. House rules po muna tayo for the attendees. Please mute your microphones and use the chat box and the Q&A tab for your comments and questions. We will have an open forum after the end of the presentations. So, sa panahon pong yun, pwede nyo na i-unmute ang inyong sarili at i-turn on ang video para makapag-provide po kayo ng sarili nyong mga comments and questions mismo sa mga panelists natin today. At kung hindi po enough ang ating time, we'll try and get back to you sa email for your questions. So our panelists po, each speaker will have 10 minutes to speak. And to open our discussion, can I have Greg Cahalia is our Chief of Party and Country Representative of Internews Philippines to provide an overview of our project, the Initiative for Media Freedom. Greg?
Yep. Hi, can you hear me? Hi, everyone. I am Greg. I am, as Kat mentioned, the country representative of Internews for the Philippines. I will be very brief because I really want to give space to our speakers and to this great panel today to discuss this extremely important topic. So very quickly, Internews in the Philippines currently implement a few programs. The program under which this is organized in partnership with our colleagues of H2H and our colleagues of Plan International is the Initiative for Media Freedom, which is quite a unique program in its size and in its ambition. And I think this unicity really matched the unicity of the vivid, active, extremely resilient and courageous media sector of the Philippines. It's a broad program which will last 5 years. It's implemented in partnership with 9 other organizations, including 8 Philippine organizations, media organizations and civil society organizations. And it tried to cover 3 objectives. The first objective is really dedicated to the improvement of the environment for the free press, which include issues related to journalist safety, but also coalition building, building community ownership, etc. The second objective is really dedicated to a key, very central issue in the Philippine media landscape and information ecosystem, which is the capacity of media and other organizations to address disinformation issues, and both on the supply side and on the demand side, both tackling malign actors on the one hand, but also working with the communities, with citizens to better understand the issue of disinformation in the Philippines, and notably online disinformation. And the third objective of our program is dedicated to strengthening self-regulation mechanisms of the media sector. I will not go much more into detail on the program, but I just wanted to say a few words on today's topic, if you allow me. Since the beginning, Internews has worked toward building a world where all people can seek, receive, and contribute to credible information that are important to them. Therefore, our work requires to pay a special attention to the most vulnerable and underrepresented categories, and to make sure that their voices are heard, accounted for, and reflected in media coverage. And this is even truer than ever in a time of pandemic. An equal access by all to trustworthy information relevant to their context, their reality, is not just important, it can save lives. Women, girls, and children are facing distinct challenges to their safety and well-being during COVID-19. Their access to information, access to healthcare services, and human rights are at risk. They are particularly impacted by loss of livelihood and food insecurity, which in turn make them vulnerable to abuses. women and children face increased risk of violence and sexual exploitation. The media can, and if I may say so, should play an important role in making the voices of women, girls, children, and marginalized groups heard. Media can, for example, make sure that the fate of women trapped with abusive partners during lockdown is not forgotten. Media can help raise public awareness on the specific risks faced by women, girls, and children under this unprecedented health crisis. And media can expose those predating on new vulnerabilities created by COVID-19. As I was working on peace processes some years ago in another job, I was fascinated by the growing set of data and evidences showing that the major involvement of women in peace negotiation and post-conflict recovery exponentially increases chances of such processes to be successful and to last. In other words, women and girls show exceptional abilities when it comes to consensus building and resiliency. The world after COVID-19 will very much look like a post-conflict environment. The efforts required for the world to recover will be of a similar scale as those to recover from a war. The more we will be able to pay attention today to the voices of women and girls, the more chances we will have to see them be actors of this recovery efforts, the more we will see them participating to the reconstruction and the reconstruction to succeed. We are therefore particularly pleased to modestly contribute to this important discussion with this webinar co-organized by Internews-Plan International, thanks to the support of USAID, UK Aid, and H2H. I hope you will find the conversation interesting, and salamat po.
Salamat, Greg. Thank you. A few words also from our Internews Regional Health Advisor on COVID-19 for Asia, Sunny Krishnan. Sunny?
Thank you very much, Kat, and good day, and also good day to my colleague, Greg, in the Philippines. Special thank you to Greg and Kath, and also to Mona Mariano of Plan International. Without your coordination and your help, this webinar wouldn't happen today, and it was on a very short notice. This webinar also coincides with 100 days since COVID-19 was declared as a pandemic by WHO, and women, girls, and also people from the LGBTQ community are what is called the hidden populations in response to COVID-19. As Kat said, I am Internews Regional Health Advisor for Asia, and I'm in the Connect COVID-19 Asia project, which is funded by UK Aid and comes under the H2H consortiums. Our project works with a whole range of partners in Asia to address the issue of rumors and misinformation in the COVID-19 so-called infodemic. And we also put out guidance for journalists in local languages. And one of the local languages that we put out our guidance for local journalists is in Tagalog. And you can go to the address displayed at the back of my screen, internewscovid19.org, and you can download the resources in Tagalog. So without much ado, I pass it over to my colleague Kat, and thank you for coming, and let's have a fruitful and fun webinar, and also a serious webinar to address this issue of gender, which the media not willfully but sometimes inadvertently overlooks. Over to you, Kat. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny. And I forgot to introduce myself, and I will do so now. I'm Katherine Raymundo. I'm the Media Engagement Specialist of the Internews Philippines, and I'll be your moderator for the day. Simula na po tayo. Ang una pong magsasalita ay si Mona Mariano. She is the Plan International Philippines Country Gender Specialist. Her background is on child and family development, and she has been working on children's rights and child protection for more than a decade now. So I'll give the screen to Mona.
Salamat, Kat. Magandang hapon sa lahat. And to add to that, Plan International is a development organization and a humanitarian nonprofit working on children's rights and equality for girls. And in our work, we recognize the significance of partnering with different sectors of the society to make this vision happen. No? And media is part of this sector, so we are really pleased that Internews has initiated this space. So just let me get my presentation up. There. I hope all of you can see. Good. What I'm going to do is to structure my sharing using the 4 principles of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child as I walk you through practical points to consider about the topic. The 4 principles will be on participation, best interest, non-discrimination, and equality. And lastly will be on survival and development. So going to the first principle on participation rights, to be more gender aware, we look at who among the population are most affected across different gender identities, and we need to get their voices out. According to Greg earlier, he said that they need to be heard and accounted for, and this is also the clamor that we are pushing for. So we had released a publication, we call it Hear It From the Girls for COVID-19. And in that research, we saw that girls in Asia during this lockdown, they've been facing increasing cases of gender-based violence and child marriages. There has also been limited access to sexual and reproductive health services, and also a rise in the burden of domestic work. So information like these are noteworthy in shedding light to issues that will otherwise be invisible. So the media would need to really be relevant in making those voices and issues come out. So where possible, when defining messages that we put out publicly, we ask that you support the participation of the most marginalized, and most often than not, this would be women, girls, and members of the LGBTIQ community. A good starting point actually will be to meaningfully engage girl and youth organizations to get their perspective on what is happening and what their current needs are. Media can also support in making spaces for the most vulnerable to speak up safely. For instance, in the recent issues of hashtag Iha Ako and the hashtag Junk Terror Bill, it would be good to think about how media can create avenues that are safe and open to girls, boys, and non-binary gender identities to voice out opinions without fear of being attacked. So moving to the second principle, this would be about putting the best interest of children in mind. Here we need to consider how issues affect the most vulnerable differently, and if we are presenting this ethically. I've actually heard that COVID-19 from several people that COVID-19 is a great equalizer. It is actually not, because every pandemic or crisis would have a different effect on women, men, boys, girls, and non-binary gender identities. And we need to have this perspective to better understand the problem and to relay that to the public and to understand better the impact of COVID-19 to them. In monitoring COVID-19 plans and interventions, we encourage the media to disaggregate information according to gender, age, and disability, because this is where we could start to understand what the needs are. This is also a way to help the public and duty bearers know who is most affected and who really needs help. A concrete example will be to start uncovering the story behind our count of those affected by COVID. So every day, actually, I would get the notice that this is the amount that we've reached, but what is missing is how many here are male, how many are female, how many are children, how many are adults, are there people with disabilities affected. So having these information on hand can actually can give us a clearer picture of how to respond to the pandemic better. And in also related to best interest, we need to encourage, we need to remind ourselves of ethical reporting, keeping in mind confidentiality and respect in the way we share stories and identities, especially because issues around COVID and gender-based violence or GBV can elicit fear and stigma within the communities. So to my third point, which is non-discrimination and equality, we've seen how media can influence attitudes and behaviors of community members. You know that you are key to challenging harmful gender norms and attitudes in the way you use your language and in the way you use your imagery and the stories you tell. So going back to Iha Ako, it would be good to ask questions on what kind of public perceptions were triggered, which gender norms were enforced or challenged, and how are you personally affected by these conversations? Because when we start asking and thinking about these questions, we look at our own and the public's harmful biases and attitudes, and this is where we can start also eliminating these discriminations and inequality. So just a few more examples on that point. In our rapid gender analysis that we did in the Philippines, we noted that members of the LGBTIQ are among the proactive ones in the communities. But when they report their own incidences to the violence against women and children desks of the LGUs, they get turned down because the people would say that they are not really a real woman, for instance. And we also noted that there's an increased burden of household, as I mentioned earlier, an increased domestic and care work for girls and women, even if boys and men are helping out more because they are locked inside the homes. This is still because of the general belief that females should be the one in charge of care and domestic work. So media can do a lot in their COVID-19 communication platforms to share awareness and to affect social norm change to deal with these discriminatory gender biases. Moving on to my last principle, which is on survival and development. Uh, our rapid gender analysis also showed a very big clamor for timely and factual information. And this is amidst the infodemic or the overflow of news. This can be seen across different gender and ages, so people are able to cope better with clear guidelines on how to respond. And this is linked also to the survival and development of children. No, concrete recommendations from our end is to work with key agencies and different coordination groups within the communities to identify accurate public awareness messages. For instance, in our communities, we noted that pregnant women and women with very young children are having a hard time accessing health services for themselves now. So getting this data out will help our government and frontliners to streamline interventions. The same in earlier it was mentioned that there's an increasing rise in violence in the homes, and our cyber safe project also noted an increase in online sexual exploitation of children. So this is of particular importance because the lockdown restrictions have made vulnerable groups more susceptible. So having appropriate gender sensitive and age relevant information can help communities, children and adults both to protect themselves and manage their own safety. To end and to give emphasis for that this call for a gender equal society, even in COVID responses, is happening globally. I'd like to share this video from our Rewrite Her Story initiative, and which I hope will work now. Let me share that with you again. There you go. So, playing it now. Over to you, Kat.
Thanks, Mona. I think nagkaroon tayo ng technical problem. So, walang audio, hindi narinig. I shared the link sa ating chat box. So, pwede nyo na lang din po i-play para makita nyo yung video with the audio din. So, yun. Thanks, Mona, for sharing that. Actually, maganda yung point na yun, no, na hindi siya great equalizer, but actually it worsens yung current na systems na meron tayo. And we'll go and into that further later on with Marge and Tina's presentation. So, mag-proceed muna tayo. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Marguerite Alcazaren de Leon. She heads the Rappler's opinion section. She has been with Rappler since 2013 and also served as its social media producer for 6 years. Margie?
Hi everyone, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. I fully agree wholeheartedly with Mona's presentation, and here at Rappler we try to do everything we can to advocate for women and the LGBT. So here's my presentation. All right. So as I've said, since 2012, Rappler was founded in 2012, we've been advocating for women and the LGBTQ. And we don't just cover it in terms of hard news. We also try to do more creative output in terms of educating people on the abuse and the rights issues that our marginalized Filipinos go through. So one of these is our social video explainer. So you can see here, this is our SOGI explainer, or explainer on sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. And then we also have a running campaign this year actually called Championing the Child. And it's about child marriages. And we also have investigative pieces such as the underground abortions that are happening safely, like safe abortions done by actual doctors that are happening here in the Philippines in light of the fact that it's illegal here. We also have a lot of opinion pieces that give other marginalized writers a voice, or people who are experts in gender a voice to speak up about these issues. So, for example, we have a weekly column called Dash of Sass, which our sex columnist Anna Santos talks, where she talks about all things gender and sex related. So in this case, in this example, she's pointing out the misogynistic language that our president uses when he does public pronouncements. And then we also have our I Speak section here in the center, where we invite practically anyone who is interested in writing for Rappler or sending a personal essay to Rappler. We welcome most especially marginalized voices or people who don't really get the opportunity to speak up about their issues. So we have things like this one, like Why We Feel as Queer Activists, which comes from a queer activist who wants to give suggestions as to how his community can further their activism in a more positive way. And we also have recently, we started this year, we have a podcast called I've Got an Opinion, and some of the topics we've discussed are related to gender and women. So in this case, like we've got a podcast on bisexuality, We've also had a podcast on polyamory. Yeah, so we try to cover a lot of topics, including ones that some would consider taboo here in the Philippines.
Margie, I think hindi lumilipat yung presentation.
Ay, what do you mean?
Yeah, thank you.
Why is it like that? Resume share. Is it back? No?
It's there, I can see it, but it's not on the second page.
Oh, okay. Is it? Oh, it's changed. Hold on, I'll stop sharing. Do it again. How
There.
about?
Yeah.
Okay. There. All right. Okay, so we've also, well, especially since social media is such a big deal here in the Philippines, we're one of the biggest users of social media in the world. Of course, the issues of gender and women have been particularly wrought on social media and online. So we also cover hard truths about that, like the UNICEF report on like child pornography, but we also focus on the softer, more social, societal issues, societal news. So we also cover global issues such as China's LGBT community or how YouTube, social media platform, responds to discrimination that happens to LGBTQ because of they have like a restricted mode that is. And of course, there's bullying that is very rampant on social media because of on social media. So I don't know if you guys remember like the gay men holding hands in the metro and the trans woman who was discriminated in the workplace. We try to not only cover these instances of bullying, but also give the people who are involved in the actual bullying a voice, the bully. So in this case, like the trans woman who was discriminated against in the workplace, we invited her to write a first-person account about her experience, and we published that on our opinion site. So I remember Mona mentioned the Iha Ako issue, and so not only did we cover that, but we also reached out to Kaki Pangilinan, and we also did a Rappler talk, a Rappler interview with her. So we really try to give the people involved more of a voice rather than just covering them objectively. So especially since COVID has kept us all indoors, online abuse has been even more rampant. So this has all been mentioned earlier, how women at home have gotten abused more often, and we even have instances of our public officials and our what do you call this government officials abusing women and the LGBT, taking advantage of the pandemic. And we also have a podcast that does deep dives into these issues. And yeah, so we also focus on how social media, in particular, like on Twitter, has made gender abuse even more rampant. Like this one, like this is child sex abuse material for as low as 100 pesos on Twitter. So we covered that. So I think it helps that Rappler is led by women. We are led purely by female journalists. So I think that gives us an edge in terms of our perspective on how to cover the news. But of course, that's not an excuse for other media outlets to not cover these issues. But yes, it really helps that we have like fierce female bosses. So speaking of like fierce females, like in 2016, the gendered online harassment like went on overdrive, and this has become even more palpable during the COVID-19 crisis because since the government has arguably responded poorly to our pandemic, a lot of critics have come out of the woodwork, and these critics of the government, the government in response to these critics, released a lot of disinformation and attacks on these people. So prior to the pandemic, we've had people like Senator Laila De Lima, Vice President Lenny Robredo, and other journalists attacked because of their their criticism of the government. So to give you just a quick example of what women have had to deal with online because of disinformation that's mostly run by the government. Karen Davila, who is a broadcaster on ABS-CBN, she gets a lot of she gets bullied a lot on YouTube. Joe Berlario, who has a running blog, who is that is fairly popular. She gets shamed for her body because that's the way that they try to disenfranchise her. Of course, there's Lenny Robredo, and they attack her in ways like they spread rumors about her being pregnant or being unfaithful to her husband, stuff like that. And Laila De Lima, there's even like a very distasteful video that was disseminated during the time of her case. And former Senator Rita Hontiveros. And the harassment has gotten pretty personal for Rappler. So what we've really noticed is the attacks on media now, especially during the pandemic, has been very gendered. So even before the pandemic, we've been called prostitutes. And our boss, Maria, our CEO, she gets, back then she used to get like 90 hate messages a day. And most of them are very gendered in their attacks. Yeah. And then our reporter, Pierre Arnado, who covers Malacanang, she gets criticized a lot about her weight, about her appearance. Yeah. And then even Rappler as a whole, since most of us are women, we are packaged by our critics as Rapplerettes, or like they create names for us that try to make us seem weak or what do you call this? I don't know, flighty. We're called college sorority bloggers, so it's a very misogynistic way of packaging us. And journalists in general are called pornalists. Journalism is called pornalism. So you can see how like it's clearly gendered when the government attacks the media and anyone who criticizes them. And because everyone's stuck at home during the pandemic, that is just even more pronounced. And we do our best to try to help other media to address these matters as well. So some of the lessons to end this presentation, some of the lessons we've learned the hard way, if you guys listening here are from the media, we suggest when you have to face these criticisms, first to take a deep breath and have presence of mind, like not to be too defensive or to panic about what's happening, because this is something that they want to get a rise out of you. So it's best to keep calm and always sit back with facts. At the end of the day, what they try to do is sow disinformation. So it's easy to refute this information as long as you have the cold and hard facts. And if you have the time, you can also check the trolls' accounts themselves and expose the accounts are freshly made or if they're bots. And also be prepared. If you have like an investigative piece that you know will most likely get heat from certain officials, you also have to be like emotionally prepared to take on the criticisms from the other side. And last but most importantly, you just have to keep doing your job, especially now that a lot of injustices happening to women in the LGBT during this pandemic. it's easy for the media to be sidetracked by the attacks and by the stresses that come with working in journalism during a global crisis. But it's just important to keep your perspective and focus on what you've been covering even before the pandemic. So in this case, our advocacy for women and the LGBT. And that's it.
Thanks, Margie. Yes, malaking factor nga talaga no yung may gendered aspect yung attacks usually yung na-monitor natin, and especially online. So I think itatakal din yan in depth naman ni Tina, ang ating next panelist, dahil online and gender naman yung topic ng FMA. So I'll go to Tina and then we'll proceed after her presentation with the Q&A. So kung meron po kayong questions or comments sa chat box na lang po or at sa Q&A. So thanks again, Margie. Christina Lopez is the Program Officer on Gender and ICT at the Foundation for Media Alternatives, or FMA. Her resume includes many years of experience working with women, children, migrants, and the elderly under the tutelage of community-based and non-government organizations. Tina?
Yeah, thanks, Kat. So let me share with you some of the talking points that I made 2 days ago. So just hold on, I'll just go through to my presentation now. Okay. So, well, first, I just have to emphasize that women online also experience a lot of things, no? I think na-share naman na ni Marge kanina and also Mona, how women and young girls in particular, no, treated online. So at this time, I would like to share with you some of the points that we wanted to showcase. Ano na ba yung current picture ng women nowadays? Although na-mention na kanina ni Rappler, ni Marge, no, ano yung iba't ibang mukha ng mga kababaihan. But this time, ano na yung itsura niya in time of pandemic crisis? Kasi mukhang nag-iba talaga sa ngayon, no? So from being offline to online, nakita namin din yung pagbabago. And then we also want to historian, no, to analyze kung ano na ba talaga kung talaga bang napapalakas ng ICT ang boses ng mga kababaihan at nakaka-impluwensya pa rin ba sila sa kapwa nila kababaihan and other marginalized sectors, which is the LGBTIQ+ community, the young children and elderly and so on. And then this presentation also focus on the current situation of our digital landscape, kasi pataas ng pataas yung gumagamit ng mga digital devices ngayon. And binibigyan din namin yung ano yung women's agenda nowadays, lalo na sa usapin ng digital at bakit ito kailangan bigyang pansin sa ngayon, lalo na't may kinakaharap tayong pandemya. So before I proceed to my presentation, I just want to share with you who is FMA. You know, I'd like to introduce to you. So FMA, we are a non-government organization advocating for ICT, for democracy and sustainable empowerment. And since 1987, our primary mission is to assist the citizens and communities, especially the civil society organization and other disadvantaged sectors, in the strategic and appropriate use of information and communication technologies, or ICTs, for democratization and popular empowerment. So we also have our core programs focusing on gender and ICT, and we look into the intersection between the ICT and then the gender rights and issue, including the women's use and access to ICTs and technology-related gender-based violence. The second core program is the privacy and data protection. So we work to advocate the right to privacy of citizens, which include the right against unlawful surveillance. And then lastly, the internet rights, to ensure that the Philippine internet governance is inclusive, democratic, and rights-based. And the internet rights program therefore engages in issues such as meaningful access and free expression in the internet. So ine-emphasize namin yun na what are your rights offline should also be applied and promoted online. So now let's proceed ano na yung current situation ng ating digital landscape. So according to the report na ginawa ng We Are Social and Hootsuite last January 2020, sa ngayon we have a 7.75 billion total population, no, in global. And then 5.9 billion people are now connected and using their mobile devices online. And worldwide, meron tayong 3.80 billion social media users. With this number increasing by more than 9%, so nagtaas siya, meaning there are 321 million new users since this time last year. So globally, we have 5.19 billion people who are now using mobile phones with user numbers up to 124 million or 2.4% over the past year. However, this figures the 7.75 billion numbers. Meron pa rin 3.2 billion people around the world are remain unconnected. So hindi pa rin sila, they are still offline. But in the case of the Philippines, meron tayong 108 million total population, and there are 73 million internet users in the country. However, when we talk about the unique mobile phone users, nag-increase siya ng 38 million, so plus 28% compared to last year statistics. So the number of mobile connection in the Philippines in January was equivalent to 159%. And for social media, 73% din yung 73 million ang social media users natin in the country in January 2020, and this number has increased by 5.8 million. So between April 2019 and January 2020. So technically, the social media penetration in the country stood at least 67%, and hindi siya nababago yung figure na doon sa internet users. So those who are connected are also connected and using social media platforms. So bakit agenda namin ang being connected and why ICT is important to us? Sabi nga din sa Sustainable Development Goal, very specific yung SDG number 5, which is the gender equality. And one of the goals is to achieve and promote empowerment of women through the use of technology. So for us, for women, ICT are very critical to achieve sustainable development goals. Kasi una, ICT can provide great opportunities to enable everyone, especially women and girls, to have access to the same online resources and other opportunities. Second, we use the technology or the ICT to gain a stronger voice in our communities, government, and even at the global level. Third, we can also provide new opportunities for our economic empowerment by creating businesses and employment opportunities. And it's very visible nowadays itong third item na mention ko, that ICT can provide new opportunities for economic empowerment for businesses and employment opportunities. Fourth, ICT can be used strategically to call out inequality and address value issues both in real world and digital spaces. So nakita naman natin that there are two phases of women when it comes to offline and online. So yes, when it comes to offline, women are still experience violence against them, but also in digital spaces, mas grabe yung experiences nila. It multiply the trauma, no, yung pinagdadaanan nila. And hindi lang siya tago but it's also spread around the world kasi nasa cloud yung mga experiences at yung mga evidences na pwedeng nakita against them. And in this pandemic crisis, what are the real women's agenda as we apply this in the digital environment? So may 3 points lang akong tinignan. This pandemic time, COVID-19 shows why internet access is a basic right. Una, internet access is just, it's not a luxury for everyone, but also a lifeline, especially for women who are experiencing abuse or exploitation and so on. So sa panahon ng pandemya ngayon, lahat ng tao ay nasa loob ng bahay. And if you are not connected, although may mga access tayo sa mga traditional media natin, iba pa rin pag ang kababaihan ay nakakatanggap ng real and accurate information with the use of the technology and internet. So isipin na lang natin, if some women are not connected, saan sila kumukuha ng real information? Second point is, for us who are fortunate enough to have a meaningful connectivity, the internet provides a crucial link to information that help health crisis. So once a woman receives an information, a valid information, it's easily for her to cascade that particular information to keep her family safe and healthy. At the same time, with the physical and social distancing measures, this new norm, yung new normal na tinatawag natin across the country, and even the global, we are living our lives online. So, pansin nyo naman, kahit ngayon, our meetings, our webinars are also happening online na. And then from online learning to working from home, live stream community services like this, the internet connects us to in this time of physical isolation. So, kasi di ba, mas mahalaga pa rin sa atin yung may interaction with other people. But this time, ang connection na natin, ang way of interaction natin is through online. This digital inequality also deprives more people in this critical connection. No? The COVID-19 crisis exposed the persistence of digital divide, not only in the Philippines, but also across the globe. So, imagine those people who are living in far-flung areas, remote areas and rural. Those are the communities who are not yet connected. Kung meron man, they have to go to the other town para lang makakuha ng other information. So, I think the other day, malakas yung report, like some teachers, no, they have to go to the roads para lang maka-connect, ma-encode, at ma-submit online yung mga reports nila sa isang government agency. And this inequality has a real-life consequences. So COVID-19 again shows the internet access is now a basic right. Second agenda is we need a meaningful, affordable connectivity. At this time, hindi naman lahat ay nakaka-connect. Aminin man natin o hindi. Those who are, sabi ko kanina, those who are really privileged, sila yung merong kakayahan, they have these devices na smartphones, complete internet connectivity. Pero when it comes to meaningful and affordable connectivity, ano yung role naman ng telco and the DICT to ensure this kind of rights? Kasi sa ngayon, ang bagal-bagal ng internet natin. Second, mataas din yung data capping niya. At maraming demand ngayon, especially for women who are working remotely and for women who are engaging in online businesses. Yan ang mga reklamo kasi nila eh. Paano kami kikita if the internet are really expensive at napakabagal pa? So that's another thing for women. Then third point is COVID-19 makes it clearer than ever that access to the internet should now be a universal right. Kasi sabi nga sa ngayon, tinitingnan natin earlier na meron pa rin 3.82 billion people hindi pa rin connected. Pero if this going to be a universal right, ano na lang yung magiging agenda ng kababaihan. So maybe perhaps mas malaki yung possibility na mas ma-express nila yung kanilang mga opinions and views. They were able to improve their skills and to be more empowered after all. So may mga common platforms din naman na ginagamit, pero hindi rin yun sapat eh, kasi it also requires a lot of skills and knowledge para pag-aralan ng isang kababaihan. For instance, when we did a 2015 study how women use and access their mobile phone devices, particular in urban poor areas, lumalabas na only 22% no, out of 100% na kababaihan na survey, sinasabi nila na wala kaming skills how to use these mobile devices. Ang alam lang namin is to pag green button is to answer the call, or the feature phones yung may mga specific na keypads. So, but nowadays, given na meron tayong mga smartphones, issue pa rin yun sa kanila. They don't know how to maximize that devices. Second point is mahal nga. So, for women, if they are not economically provided, at may pagkukulang talaga, uunahin nila yung yung gastusin sa bahay, no? Kaysa bumili ng bagong unit ng smartphone and mag-load kung walang oras. Kasi as a woman, sinasabi nila, they also during the validation ng aming surveys through a focus group discussion, sinasabi nila na dagdag oras lang yung pag-aaral at paggamit ng internet for us. So ang nanay daw or isang ordinaryong kababaihan sa urban poor area, matindi yung oras nila sa pag-aasikaso sa loob at labas ng bahay. So kumbaga list priority nila ang paggamit at paghawak ng mobile devices. Fourth agenda namin is the COVID-19 and then the prevalence of online gender-based violence. So, minention na kanina ni Marge at saka ni Mona yung mga experiences ng mga kabataan at ng mga kababaihan online sa iba't ibang platforma at iba't ibang mukha, no? Pero FMA has been mapping a online gender-based violence since 2008. So at this time, from this as of June 22, we already mapped 452 cases. Pero if we want to focus on during this pandemic period, from the time na na-declare ang community-enhanced quarantine from March 15 to June 22, we have recorded or mapped 37 cases in our online reporting platform. So these recorded cases are based on the media source. Second, some individuals are reporting their own experiences, their own encounters through our social media platform. So we maximize those platforms and also the reports from our partners. So ibig sabihin lang nun, within the short period of time, ang taas bigla 37%, 37 cases compared to regular cases na minomonitor namin. Minsan, in a month, 2, 3, 4, certain ay makalima kami. But this time, ang taas agad nung kinalabasan. And then, most common violation were non-consensual use of photos, videos, online trafficking through mobile phones and Facebook are committed by someone known to the victim. So, kitang-kita naman, even in some media reports na young women and girls are being victims of this online gender-based violence. And other forms of experiences that they had ay yung mga threats, blackmails, abusive comments, deleting, manipulation of personal data, and repeated harassment were also among the aggressions. So in some cases, survivors know their aggressors and a group of people were also involved. So yan yung iba kakilala, minsan kamag-anak, especially for those who are engaging in cyber pornography, especially doon sa mga kabataan. Minsan sarili nilang magulang, kamag-anak, or kapitbahay ang bumibiktima sa kanila. And then for some young women, there are some group of people who are involved. Sila yung mga nasa private group chat. So they exchange the photos, videos of their girlfriends, and then nagsisirculate sila online, maximizing the platform, no? So yeah, in response to this COVID-19 and then our agenda, so tinignan namin ano ba yung gamit ng ICT, do it really really influence the women, no? So from this, naging prepared naman ang kababaihan na tugunan ang problema ng gender-based violence. So na-obserbahan natin during the first week of community-enhanced lockdown, nakita natin nagsulputan yung iba't ibang uri ng hotlines, no, from government to civil society to women's group. And then they already offer their services, not just only through mobile phones, but also yung mga chat box, naging active yun . And then the Commission on Human Rights has launched an online reporting portal for gender-based violence. So once they receive a report, they will get in touch with the victim survivors, and then they will do some preliminary investigation. And then later on, they will visit the victim survivors to see and then to rescue them. Some women's group and young feminists use social media platforms, in particular Facebook, to offer online consultation, counseling, among others. Kasi in this case, kapag nasa loob ka ng bahay. Similar din sa offline. Hindi ka basta-basta makakapagsumbong kasi because you are threatened takot ka, may nararamdaman kang takot. But with this kind of initiative, kung ang kababaihan na connected at maalam kung paano gamitin ang social media platform, it's easy for them to reach out and seek some help. So, mahalaga yun sa kababaihan. And then, in response naman ng FMA, as we enter in a new normal condition, hindi naman natatapos doon yung groundwork namin at the community level. So we will still continue to strengthen the awareness and capacity of women by educating the internet users and also our partners to report the online gender-based violence and how to access essential services information. So continuous din yun. We will be also having webinars focusing on gender naman. So sunod-sunod ito. So maybe we can tap other partners like Plan International or maybe media sa Rappler and other organizations to bring up this kind of issues pertaining to women and gender. And then also in relationships sa ICT. Other than that, we also ask some individuals to continue reporting the incidents para lang din may notion na ang tao ay hindi lang nananahimik just because it's happening offline. Pero mas mahalaga na online, mas nakikita kasi walang nagre-report masyado by that time. So if you need further information about our organization, you can check our website at www.fma.ph or you can email us at info@fma.ph. So yun. Thank you, Kat.
Thanks, Tina. Actually, pinili namin na yung FMA yung last kasi meron nga silang ganitong platform, no? Yung online gendered violence, yung GBV na platform na pwede mag-report. And kasama nung campaign ng FMA, dahil part din sila nung Initiative for Media Freedom, ginagawa din namin yung public awareness campaign dun sa Facebook hub natin, yung Barangay Hub. So, merong mga ilang in-include natin yung mga efforts ng FMA halimbawa para mas magkaroon ng public awareness about the issue ng women and gender. So pwede nyo tingnan. Ilalagay namin sa chat box yung link ng Barangay Hub kasi meron sila doon. May mga questions na tayo na pumasok. So, isang question from Emmanuel. Sabi niya, meron na daw ba tayong bills? Is there significant representation of these issues through the party list system? If so, are new bills being written to solve this issue? So kailangan pa ba natin, I think, in relation to laws, saka legal support or legal environment kung meron ba, apart from the Republic Act ng Women, Magna Carta of Women, no? Meron tayo nun. At meron din tayong dapat gender budget, bawat agency na ating government, no? Pero kaugnay nun, may question tungkol sa kay Mona na mention mo kanina yung disaggregated data or yung importance ng disaggregated information. Sabi ulit ni Emmanuel, the need for detailed statistics before any policy or plans can be effectively designed. What actions are being done to create these statistics and then to have it noticed by the government leaders, by public officers?
So, Kat, are you giving me the space to respond to that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So for the first one, we, as you've mentioned, we already have the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act, and then there are also laws on safe spaces or yung Bawal Bastos Act, and yung sabi mo nga yung Magna Carta of Women. Although yung online sexual exploitation of children is still missing in those laws. What we are doing now is to closely work with CSO partners, with civil society organizations and also our government leaders to see where we can include these safety nets for particularly for girls, boys, and LGBTIQ. Sorry, yeah, there's another question, right? On
the
sorry.
statistics and
All
paano
right.
gagawa.
Yes, unfortunately, on the statistics, this is still a struggle. So even makikita nyo naman sa reporting natin, no? But I'm sure the DOH would have a segregation of male, female, ano yung age groups, but these are not very public. So yun yung demand natin, no, to make it public. The second one is yung at the barangay level or at the even at the provincial level, if you look at the data, struggle pa rin namin mga civil society organizations yung paghanap ng disaggregated data, age and gender. No? So it is really something that we are pushing for, and we know that the government is agreeing to this, and so there's still a lot to be done there.
I think baka pwede mag-support si Margie kasi ang question is, meron nga bang lack sa reporting ng issues ng women sa media, do you think? And paano ba masusupport ng media to mainstream these issues, no? Although na-mention mo na a little bit siguro kanina sa presentation mo yung efforts halimbawa ng Rappler. Pero can even the private sector, halimbawa problem sa access, katulad nung sinasabi nila, meron bang possibility na makatulong pa yung private sector on these efforts or collaboration even?
Yes, definitely. Even though most media outlets have like gender issues on their plate, it's still very lacking. We still need more and better coverage on these issues, and I don't think it will. I don't think the need will ever end in a while. So, yun, marami talagang issues, and there's only so much that a single media outlet can do. So it's important that news networks and outlets do their best to cooperate. I think that's what's important, to really get the signal out there. It shouldn't just be a one-off effort. It should be something that all the networks with all the resources can do together. And in terms of community media, yes, definitely, that can definitely help because they're the ones who are directly seeing the effects of this violence, right? But the problem is, of course, the smaller, the more local the media is, the more prone it is to what do you call this, to corruption or to being influenced by the officials in the area. So it's really a matter of finding integrity and just really trying to do your best not to be what do you call this, influenced, and making sure that the output you give, that you put out, sticks true to your craft. And then in terms of the private sector helping, like for example, recently we've been seeing a lot of private people holding campaigns to collect old gadgets, so they can send it over to people, the children and the parents who need these gadgets for the coming school year and for women. So when they're working from home and stuff like that. So it's really a matter of people banding together. We really see the importance in building communities where people can what do you call this, cooperate and see how they can help each other. So yeah, that's what I think should be done. It's not really just one-off solution, but rather a continuing community effort that isn't just going to happen just because of the pandemic, but something that can be sustained for the long haul.
Thanks, Margie. Tapos, I think may mga questions din about dun sa platform ng FMA, Tina, no? So baka pwede ka din mag-react kung how do you actually do yung platform? How do you document the cases? And follow up siguro dun sa question na rin on legislation or kung paano nakakatulong halimbawa yung information gathering ng FMA kung para ma-resolve yung cases and if nagli-lead ba yun to legislation. Tina?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Oo. Oo, thanks, Kat, no. Yeah, in terms of lacking, 'di ba, yung lacking of numbers kasi pag when you do something naman, a research, dapat kasi evidence-based palagi and it has to be supported with the numbers. So, sa amin, si FMA, during that time when we are doing mapping, nakita na namin na, bakit konti lang yung nagre-report sa online gender-based, basta mga ICT-related cases. So, nakita namin bakit ganoon kaunti. So, nakita rin din namin na ganoon din pala yung figure when it comes to offline, yung mga domestic violence. No? Hindi lahat kasi nagre-report. Maybe because of the personal choice din ng victim survivors or second, hindi nila alam where to reach out. That's one. Pero nung nag-umpisa na kami mag-mapping, and then 2016 yata yung nagsimulang mag-draft ng bill si Senator Risa Ontiveros on Tres Marias. Isa doon sa mga bill na tiningnan niya ay yung EVA, yung Electronic Violence Against Women. And then that's the only time na-invite kami to be part of the technical working group. So we presented the numbers. Kahit kakaunti siya, during that time, it's nilang yun, mga 100, less than 200 pa lang. So parang for them, value na yun It's a rich data na, kahit pa paano, may 200 na nag-report or less than 200 na nag-report na biktima. Pero when it comes to government, for instance, law enforcement, the PNP and NBI, when they were asked if they have any data measuring na ilan yung biktima ng cyber trafficking, na other gender-related violence na nakafocus sa ICT, wala silang ma-present. Kasi tinitingnan nila na it's just part of the VAW cases. So, magkaiba kasi yung yung forma ng pag-conduct or pag-commit ng violence sa kababaihan. So, this time with the use of technology. So, kung titingnan yung Bantay Bastos Law ni Senator Risa Ontiveros or yung Safe Spaces Act, nasama yung isang article doon sa isang policy nila, yung usapin ng electronic gender-based violence. So, not just only in the public spaces but also sa workplace, tiningnan din yon. So, mahalaga talaga na nado-document itong mga ganitong uri ng pang-aabuso. Kasi hindi naman siya ginawa lang just because nangyayari siya at the time na mga VIP people yung nakakaranas. But ordinary citizen, ordinary women also experience this. And sila yung mas nawawalan actually ng justice kasi hindi sila nakikita, hindi sila nababasa sa mga media, at hindi rin sila yung napapakinggan kung ano yung mga karanasan nila. So through this platform, nakakapag-come up kami na ilang policy, nakaka-influence din kami. When it comes to documented reported cases of horizontal gender-based violence, I think ang FMA kasi nakafocus lang kami sa ICT-related. Anything about ICT-facilitated gender-based violence. Kasi ang ibang grupo naman nagdo-document na sila ng domestic vow cases. So, ayaw din naman naming ma-replicate. Just in case lang na in terms of policy, developing policy, maybe we can contribute na, hey, merong let's say 452 cases na itala ang FMA na ICT-related, and these are the forms of violence happening online. So baka mas magandang maisama din yon. So yun. And also yung media representation, aware naman ako and other civil society organization na meron sila yung media and the gender fair language reference, guidebook yan. Meron yan. Pero yes, maganda yung guidebook na yon for media practitioners. Pero when it comes to practices, nakikita pa rin for instance, the representation of the LGBTIQ community. Pag tinanong sa report na isang lesbiana, let's say, ang report ay isang lesbiana pinatay or whatsoever, Pag tinanong ilan yung LGBT community, very specific. Na ilan yung gay person, ilan yung trans women na napatay, or gano'n. So hindi klaro. And then also the language, no? Pag sinabi kasing trans woman, pinipilit pa rin ng ilang media practitioners na sila ay they are still labeled as male. So yung gano'n, yung representation nila nawawala. And I think mahalaga na dapat nakikita sila, nagiging visible sila sa ganung usapin. And I commend Rappler for doing such a good job for that particular issue kasi hindi nawawala yung representation ng LGBT community and other marginalized sectors when it comes to media reporting. So yun naman. Thanks, Kat.
Thanks, Tina. Medyo malayo-layo pa nga talaga ang hahabulin natin, no? Katulad din ng sinabi ni Margie, it's really a community effort. I think may 15 minutes na tayo overtime, pero siguro last na lang na question kasi I think mahalaga to eh. Galing kay Linda, sabi niya to Margie, meron daw bang challenges na na-encounter specifically ang Rappler or ang mga kababaihan, particular sa time ng pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. Ang daming challenges ever since this pandemic started. Siyempre, as much as possible, mas maganda yung quality ng news kung nakakapunta ka mismo sa sources mo, di ba? Or nakakapunta ka dun sa venue mismo kung saan nangyari yung balita. So, ayun, parang the fact that our reporters can't really go out that much. I mean, technically, they can because they also have the media passes and all that. But of course, our company tries our best to keep our reporters, our staff safe. So, very strictly rules namin in terms of going out and getting coverage. Ayun, so since we've always been a small company, so sanay na kami na konti lang yung resources namin. So sanay na talaga yung mga reporters at least namin na tumawag lang talaga or do video calls. So at least they have that skill set. But of course, that's just one example. And for other media na mas sanay na talaga na they really go on the ground and on the field, as the pandemic really hit them hard. So good, especially like ang dami mga media personnel who are really dependent on field work, like mga drivers, mga mga cameramen. They really can't do much unless they're actually in the area. So you really have to become creative during this time of pandemic when you're a journalist. And it will really take a lot of innovation, I suppose. And like I've mentioned before, like community building and helping each other. This is not the time for media networks to kind of stay in their silos. It's really a matter of helping each other share their resources to do as best a job as they can to bring the news and the truth to the public.
Saka siguro idadagdag ko lang din, no? Iba rin nga ang challenge sa women journalists even sa pandemic. So, compounded siya actually. Meron kaming halimbawa ilang cases na na-monitor yung mga journalists or reporters na mag-isa na babae. Pagka nasa checkpoint sila, medyo mas vulnerable sila sa attacks, parang sexual threats, or may mga ilang na record din tayo na gano'n, no? Dating sa checkpoint, titingnan yung ID, kukuhanin yung ID, tapos i-detect yung mga babae, no? So may ganyan tayong incident. So even during the pandemic, meron talagang gendered angle din, ano?
Sure.
So yun. I think we're about to wind down. So kung pwede bang last few words from our panelists before we close our webinar for the day.
I can go first. For Plan, it's really getting the most vulnerable voices out. Ako lang ba yun? Parang may sweet.
Sorry, teka, i-mute lang natin. Pwedeng paki-mute po. Okay.
Right. So just to repeat that, for Plan International Philippines and also I think for other CSOs, it's really important to hear the voices of the most vulnerable. So the ask our ask to the media is to make the most vulnerable voices heard. And the second one would be to make sure that whenever we release data, it would be gender and age disaggregated. Over to you, Kat.
We can't hear
Last
you.
words?
So,
Few
sorry.
words. Few words.
Sorry. Yeah. It's been a very difficult few months for everyone. And in terms of the media, yeah, it's been particularly challenging. And my only message is it's just a matter of sticking to the job and making sure that we get as many perspectives as possible. It really is a matter of being more creative and as well as being persistent in following through with our advocacy. So in this case, in women and gender, we really have to see all the angles in terms of how the pandemic and how the so-called new normal will affect these marginalized groups now and in the future.
And Tina?
So last word, so maybe let marginalized sectors be visible both in real world and digital spaces, and these spaces must be created as a safe space for everyone, especially for women and young girls, and for those who are still afraid to report their experiences on gender-based violence. Let's end that stigma, kasi yung stigma kasi from the community, from the family, will prevent them, no, to make them visible in this real world and digital spaces. So yun, magandang hapon.
And last concluding words as well from our chief of party, Greg.
Hi. Yeah, so I just would like to thank everyone, to thank the participants, the attendees. We hope you find the event interesting. Thanks to my colleague, thank you, my colleague Kat, also for the excellent moderation, and my colleague Sony for having facilitated the partnership with Plan International to make the webinar possible. But of course, I'd like to end by thanking the panelists. I think it was a very interesting conversation. Mona, it was the first event we jointly had with Plan International. I hope it's the first of many. I think our programs can really mutually strengthen each other and learn from each other. So we're very excited about that first joint webinar, and hopefully we can discuss in the future or to expand that partnership. Tina, FMA is one of the key partners of Internews under the Initiative for Media Freedom. And it's always very much a pleasure and very much humbling, I should say, to listen to FMA describe the courageous work you are doing on internet freedom and on the protection of fundamental rights. We are very lucky to work with you under this program, and we look forward to the continuation of this partnership over the next 4 years now under the Initiative for Media Freedom. And Marguerite, I would like to thank you very much for this powerful testimony of the challenges of covering such important topics. But I also would like to take the opportunity to express solidarity with our friends at Rappler in the difficult context you are going through. Saying dedicated, honest, professional journalists targeted by such a brutal, disgusting, and systematic harassment is concerning, it's saddening, and frankly speaking, it's infuriating. So Rappler friend, just know that Internews stand with you and hold the line. Thank you very much. Salamat po.
Thank you, everybody. This will be uploaded at the YouTube account of Internews COVID-19 and sa aming barangay hub. I think one of our colleagues shared the link. So kung gusto niyo pong balikan, maaaring puntahan at panoorin muli yung discussion for the day. So magandang hapon po sa lahat. Salamat at mag-iingat po tayo.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.